Hello, if you're a property investor, landlord, or someone that's been thinking about expanding your portfolio, then this video is for you. Because today we're going to be discussing three very important but not so obvious questions that you should be asking, or at least be able to answer, before you purchase your next HMO. So before we get into that, I'd just like to welcome you to the show, which is Successful Property Investment Secrets. It's the #1 resource for helping you go further, faster in your property investing journey. Each week, we will reveal some useful strategies, resources, and insider useful tips that you'll be able to use to help you become much more successful in your property investing journey and help you to cut the learning curve as well. So if it's your first time to the channel, then please do consider subscribing because you'll be able to stay up to date with our latest content that we put out about this ever-changing economy that we're in. Now, if you're watching this and you're thinking, who on earth is this guy? My name is Azir Thatcher. I'm a property sourcer based in Plymouth and Devon. I find investment properties for both myself and my clients all over the UK. I actually use my time, knowledge, experience and digital marketing skills to source great investment opportunities and then partner with people that have the cash and are interested in getting a better return than what the banks are giving them at the moment. And because of my digital marketing background, people often come to me when they're looking to get more customers from the internet and grow their business. So with that all being said, the last thing I want to let you know is about a fantastic event that I've got coming up. I'm super excited. Go over to getleadswithvideoads.com/register. If you're a property investor or someone in the property industry and you're looking to get more people for your business, then absolutely check that out. It's a free event that I'm putting on. It's just around the corner, so make sure that you go and check that out. So now, let's kind of go into the first nugget here. So it's the first question you need to be able to ask yourself is it in an Article 4 area? So what happens is, a lot of times I'm out there on the internet and I'm seeing people offering deals and saying, you know, this property is really good, or I'm out there meeting with estate agents and I'm viewing they're telling me about a property that's coming onto their books that they think would be of interest to me. And I'll ask them, okay, what are the kind of restrictions on the property? Is it in an Article 4 area? And I'm surprised by the amount of people that actually don't know the answer to this, and don't even know what an Article 4 area is. So if you are new or you're unaware of what an Article 4 area is, basically what happens is, if you have a residential property, so typically what happens is for HMOs, people take for example, a 3-bedroom, let's say a 3-reception property, and what they'll do is they'll turn 2 of the reception rooms into bedrooms. Usually it's the lounge and then the dining room behind there, and then the 3rd reception room remains as the communal lounge for the property. So you now have you've now turned a 3-bedroom, 3-reception property into a 5-bedroom HMO. And what happens is, when it was in its original state, that's a residential usage. And I believe that is classed as a C3 usage. And if you go down your planning office, you'll find that classification by councils up and down the country is classified as a C3 planning. Now, normally what people would have done in the past, I believe this was in 2008, quite possibly around that sort of time. Correct me if I'm wrong, but there are other, there's changes in city to city, but around that sort of time, 2008, maybe 2012, what happened was the government put planning laws in, relaxed the planning laws. And what they basically said, what they said is they approached all the councils and said to them, look, what we're going to do is we're going to allow you to have your own discretion when it comes to applying these planning laws. So what was happening is people were changing these residential properties their families lived in, and they were changing them to a lot of student accommodation and renting them out to sharers. So that went from a C3, which is a residential, to C4, which is this new HMO class. In order to do that, people were just literally just changing things around, and it was fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But the government introduced some changes that allowed local councils to say, okay, if you are changing from C3 to C4, you need to have a license in order to be able to do that. And what they've done, and the government did, is they allowed the city councils to basically come up with their own red lines. They redlined areas and said, anything within this area is now an Article 4 area. If you want to go from C3 to C4, then you need to have an HMO license. So what that means is, Everyone that was doing it and had been doing it and renting to students before, that was absolutely fine. They didn't need to make any changes. Any new properties that came up needed to have a license in place. So what was happening, and what still happens, is people want to sell their properties, their large properties. Estate agents come in and say, hey, we know you're an investor, blah, blah, this will make a great investment. The rooms are big, everything's really nice. And they'll try and sell you that property. But if it's in an Article 4 area and you don't have a HMO license, then you're going to start finding yourself in a lot of trouble. Now, I'm going to move into the second question. So that's the first question. Is it in an Article 4 area? Because if it is, you're going to need an HMO license. That's pretty much it. If you're renting to 5 or more people, you're going to need an HMO license. Okay. Now, the next thing that I want to show you, in fact, if I'm telling you information for the first time and you're hearing it and you're enjoying it, then please do give me a heart or a wow emoji. If you're enjoying the content, give me a thumbs up. And if you know anyone that should really be watching this video or benefit from the content of this video, then please do let them know about it. So the second thing is around licensing. Okay, in addition to these powers that the government gave them, the councils are now able to have additional licensing in place. So what they'll do is they'll actually pick certain areas where it's not just an HMO license you need an additional license in place. So for example, let's say you had a 3-bedroom property and you're going to rent to sharers, and you might think, well, I don't need an HMO license because it's not 5 more people sharing this property within this zone. Well, if it's in a zone that has this additional license in place, well, that then means is you can't even rent to sharers at all. You actually have to get this additional license as well. So some call it additional licenses, some call it selective licensing. It doesn't matter. The point is, I know specifically when I used to live in Bristol, there were certain areas where one side of the street you could go and it was absolutely fine to rent, no selective licensing. The other end of the street, they actually had additional licensing in place. So if you had 3 people sharing, you need to have a specific license from the council. So there's the reason that they brought these things in is to control overcrowding, too many cars on the streets. They claim that they don't want areas of a city to become desert towns or ghost towns when students go home, then there's no one in these HMOs until the next academic year, all this kind of stuff. But I have a different opinion on that. But the good thing with HMOs is what it means is that it raised the standard, because in order to get an HMO license, you actually had to have things like fire doors fitted, main smoke detectors fitted. You had to have a certain number of bathrooms in the property and a lot of cooking facilities in the property. And another great thing that they've done sort of recently is they've actually said that if your property is in an HMO area, an Article 4 area, I believe this is the case, you have to have a minimum room size. So if you're a couple, then I believe it's 10 point something square meters is the minimum room size. And if it's a single room, then it's a minimum of 6.5 square meters, I believe. So you check, because each council has slightly different rules. But the point I'm making is there is additional rules put in place that in some respects have worked out really great. So it's improved the quality, the health and safety standards of your tenants, which was a good thing across the board, and all these other good things as well. So you can check that out. Now, let me just go on to the last point, which is planning permission. So again, a lot of people say, hey, I've got this property, blah, blah, blah. It's got, 6, 7 bedrooms or, 7 lettable rooms or whatever. The issue with that is once your property has over 6 bedrooms, you actually need to have planning permission to be able to rent that 7th room out. So if someone's telling you, oh, look, I've got a 7-bedroom, I've got a large property, it was run as a 5-bed before, but there are 2 other rooms there that are lettable rooms, and if you fill people in there, you can generate X amount of cash flow, so it's an amazing property. Watch out for that, because if it doesn't come with planning permission for you to be able to rent that 7th room out, you'll have to apply for it before you can legally actually rent that out. So those are my 3 questions that I think everybody needs to ask themselves before they go out there and get an HMO. So hopefully you found this information useful. If you'd like to get HMO leads coming to you, then make sure you go to getleadswithvideoads.com/register, and I'll show you how. That's it from me for now. See you in the next video.